to see you. Thank you so much for joining me. It's brilliant to have you all here. Hopefully you're going to learn loads about Cricut this evening, and I don't know, you're probably all at different stages of the game. Some of you may have already made some projects on your Cricut machines, others may not even taken them out of the boxes yet. That's absolutely fine, don't worry about it. There's quite a lot to get through, but I am recording the session, so what I'll do is, sorry, I'm still admitting people as we go. What I'll do is I'll make sure that I'll send you the recording once I've downloaded it this evening, and I'll also send you, oh, yours is still in the box, Dawn. Honestly, you're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. But yeah, I'll send you the recording, and then I'll also, I've made like a handbook for you as well that I'll send you. And actually, I've also scheduled, because I know sometimes once you get started, it's quite overwhelming because there's a lot that these machines can do. So I've scheduled a Q&A in about 2 weeks time, I think it is 3 weeks time, so that you can all, just for free, like an hour session one evening, so we can go through again as well, and you know, you can ask me lots of other questions. So Zoe, I'm going to send the recording out to everybody, so don't worry, you don't need to record anything yourself. I'm going to try and keep my eye on chat, but it's just me, so bear with me. Every now and then when I'm doing, you know, the machine's working or whatever, I should have a moment to check the questions, but please go ahead and write questions in there and I'll try and keep my eye on them. Anyway, have I introduced myself? My name is Kate. It's great to be here. I have been working with Cricut for quite a few years now, actually. So when they launched in the UK, I worked with them, with my team, to help educate people as to what Cricut does and how the machines work. And so I do lots and lots with Cricut now, and I absolutely love them. Cricut has completely changed my life. But I'm gonna get cracking. I'm gonna get straight in so that we can try and get through absolutely everything. And I'm going to take it really slow. Don't worry, it's going to be okay. So there are 3 Cricut, well, a family of 3 really in the range of Cricut machines. This is the Joy. You could put, actually, it's quite handy for me to know which machine you've got in the chat. So whether you've got a Joy, an Explore, or a Maker. And this is the Joy. This is the smallest machine. So they are all digital cutting machines. So as you can see, there's a little clamp in here. If I open that clamp, take that out, that's a little blade that goes in there. The Explore, or the Explore 3 and the Explore Air 2 is bigger than this, and that has 2 clamps. You can put a blade in one, and then you can also put pens in the Joy as well, by the way, and pens and a scoring stylus in the Explore. And then the Maker is the all singing, all dancing machine, which is slightly larger still and a bit heavier. And again, that's got 2 clamps in it. And then this is the one here with the blades in. And then in the Maker, you can put loads and loads of other different tools in as well. So the Joy is brilliant for kind of smaller scale crafting. It's a lightweight machine. It's really compact, very portable, and it's really good for things like card making or making labels or stickers and things like that. The Explore is great for larger scale projects, paper crafting, so each one that I say does everything that the previous machine does basically, plus loads more. So the Explore machines do everything that the Joy does, plus, yeah, on a larger scale. So you can, really good for like paper crafting or making larger scale vinyl or iron-on vinyl projects. And then the Maker does all of that, plus you can also put loads and loads of other tools into this clamp here. So you can do things like debossing, you can engrave onto metal and perspex, you can cut fabric with the rotary blade, you can cut wood even with the knife blade. So the Maker is kind of like, does absolutely everything. You'll never tire of it. But they're all really fantastic machines, obviously, just whatever, it depends on whatever you're going to be doing. So what you do is you take whatever it is that you'd like to cut, and you feed that through the machine and it will cut it out for you. I'm just going to focus on cutting today, because all those other things that you can do with the machines, I think cutting is kind of the main thing. So you take whatever material it is that you'd like to cut and you feed it through the machine. So let's say, for example, you're going to cut out some vinyl. Here's a sheet of vinyl. This is regular vinyl. So if you've got the older maker machine, you would need to put this onto a mat. This is a sticky mat. You just peel that off and you stick the vinyl onto the mat, and then you feed it through the machine. So this mat is exactly the right width to go through the machine, and it's kind of nice and rigid as well. So it means that the vinyl doesn't slip around all over the place. If you have got a Joy or an Explore 3 or a Maker 3, you can also use smart materials. So smart vinyl is one of those materials. And with smart vinyl, there's no need for a mat. So this smart materials are cut to the exact correct width of the machine, and they also have a rigid backer, so you can literally feed them straight in. Feed them through the machine. That will cut out whatever design it is that you've asked it to cut out. And then you're left with your vinyl. I'm focusing on vinyl because it's the most popular material, but it could be iron-on vinyl, paper or card. You're left with your vinyl, and then you stick that onto whatever it is you want to personalize. Here's some vinyl, all different colors, that's been cut out to personalize a lunchbox. So that's kind of basically what the machines do. Let me just quickly check questions. The recording is going to be sent out this evening. I will try and I will try and do subtitles, but can't guarantee. Sorry. Anything else? Tools. I'm going to tell you about tools. Yep, that's great. Okay. Explore 3. No, the knife blade will not work on the Explore 3. You can use the deep. Can you use the deep point blade? I think you can use the deep point blade on the Explore 3, which won't cut wood though. Okay, so that's basically what the machines do. So what I'm going to show you now is kind of how you steer your machines, because at the moment that probably feels a bit kind of abstract, me just quickly showing you all of that without actually showing you how you create anything, because you can cut whatever design or shape, whatever you like, out of vinyl or the iron-on vinyl or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you Design Space, which is the app that you download onto your device, so you can use a computer or a smartphone or a tablet. I would always say, if you can, use a computer, because you just get a better experience with Design Space on a computer, because you've got a larger screen, and there are also a few kind of few of the functions that you can only do on a computer. It's fine if you've just got a tablet or a smartphone, you can still use it. I mean, I use it on my phone all the time. You just get a slightly better experience if you're on a computer. So you download that onto your device, and that's how you control your Cricut machine. So let me show you now exactly what Design Space looks like. What did I just... Okay, I can show you some really thin designs now. Maximum depth of material that Maker 3 can cut is 2.4 millimeters. I'm pretty sure it's 2.4 millimeters. Acrylic, you can cut acrylic if it's thin enough, but you'd have to do lots and lots and lots of passes, Tweety, on your machine. Okay, this is Design Space. So this is the home page. So when you open Design Space up on your device, this is more or less what it will look like. It's slightly different if you're on a smartphone or a tablet, because you've got less real estate to work with, but it's more or less the same. So up here in the top left-hand corner, you've got this little hamburger menu. That's quite handy, because there's one thing in there that is useful, which is settings. And you'll see process. Some of you might be more familiar with imperial, others might be more familiar with metric. That in settings is where you can change from imperial to metric if you want to do that. Otherwise, I don't really use that hamburger menu very often. The only other thing is, if you want to quickly navigate onto the canvas, which I'll show you in a minute, from this home page, that is a quick way to do it, just clicking up on that menu and clicking on canvas there. But otherwise, there's not too much that I use this for, I generally go straight into the canvas. But to give you a quick overview, what's really on here is kind of ideas and inspiration of things that you can make with your Cricut machine. So if you just want to have a little bit of a browse and see the types of projects that you can make, this is quite a good place to have a little zoom through. However, I would probably recommend that you zip straight up to new project. That's down in the middle, I think, if you're on a smartphone or a tablet, but it's up here on a computer, and that will take you to the canvas. Generally speaking, the button which takes you to kind of the next stage of what you want to do next is the green button on Design Space. So if in doubt, look out for the green button, and that should take you on to the next step. Before we go there, it's really, really important that you optimize your version of Design Space whenever you're on it, for whichever machine you're using. So I'm using a Maker 3 today. So I'm going to click Maker 3, but if you have a Joy, click on that, etc. And then you can click onto New Project, and that will take us to the canvas. So at the moment, it's a lovely blank canvas. It's got absolutely nothing on there. So what I'm going to do is show you how you can create a project on Design Space, because there are various different ways that you can do that. There are basically 3 ways, really. So down here on the left-hand side, this is what I call the insert menu. It's also called the design menu. And this is where you insert anything onto your canvas that you might like to make. So for example, if you wanted to browse, so the first way that you can create something on your Cricut machine is by just making a ready-to-make project that has already been created and designed and is on the Cricut library. So if we click on projects, then you can see, so this changes almost daily, really. So it's always quite topical. So at the moment, it's a lot of Chinese New Year things, but a few weeks ago it would have been Christmassy, and then in a couple of weeks' time it will be very Valentine's-y. So it changes all the time, but this is where you can search for any projects that have been created, there's all Christmassy stuff, like by Cricut, for you to just make yourself. So that's the first way you can make things. There are hundreds of thousands of projects on this in this library, so you can't just sort of scroll down aimlessly. You'll certainly want to set some parameters up for you to narrow your search down a little bit. So on this drop down here, there are lots of different topics that it thinks might be appropriate for you. So for example, say you wanted to, there was a party coming up. So let's click on parties and events and say that I would like to make, say my daughter's having a birthday party and she wants it to be an animal themed birthday party. I mean, you can literally type in anything. So I'm just doing parties and events, and I'm typing in animal, and then click on that little magnifying glass, and then any projects that it thinks hit your search parameters will come up. So this would be brilliant. For example, I could cut out these animal masks for her out of cardboard, or even I could cut out and draw these ones and they could colour them in themselves. I could make her some little animal cake toppers. So that's a really brilliant way for you to just have a bit of a browse and see the types of things that you can make, because there is so much on here. I don't actually that regularly make the ready-to-make projects. I'll more frequently design them myself, which is what we'll come to in a minute, but it's a really brilliant, they're fantastic, and it's a really brilliant way for you to just sort of see what the machines are capable of. If you were to click on to one of these projects, you can see there's kind of a overview page that comes up, tells you if it's easy or hard, how long it might take you. It tells you what kind of projects, what materials you need, and then it has like assembly instructions. It sometimes even has, not on this one, sometimes even has like a little video showing you how to make it as well. So it's really good. If I was to then click on, if I was then to click on to make it, you'll see that all of those elements for those masks will appear all ready, coloured and sorted out on my canvas, all ready to make. Let's do this. Come back to that later. There we go. So you can see it's all done, ready to go. And you just kind of go on and make them. So that is, let's go back to the canvas. I'm going to click back on. Oh, no, I don't want to do make it. I want to do new project. Ooh, sorry. Right, back to square one again. Okay, so that's the first way that you can make a project is by finding a ready to make project and just making it as it has been intended to be made and designed by the Cricut team. The second way, oh, sorry, that was my doorbell. Don't know if you heard it. The second way is to choose a project, but to customize it. So, for example, let's try and find a card one. Let's see. So you might want to do this one here. I mean, you won't at the moment because Christmas is long gone. But say you wanted to make this card, but you wanted to make it slightly different. So you wanted to customize it. So if you were to click customize rather than make it, then it would come up with everything on the canvas, but you could change the bits and bobs around yourself. So you might want to delete that bit of text and add in a bit of text that says, you know, from the Smiths or something. That's the next way. I'm going to show you how you do all of these design steps in a moment. So don't worry. At the moment, I'm just casually saying you can change that text. Please don't worry. It's fine. I'm just giving you an overview of the ways that you can make projects at the moment. I'm going to go into the nitty-gritty of how you actually would change that text in a moment, so don't worry. Okay, let's go back to the blank canvas again. So that's projects, really. What I want to focus on today is you designing your own projects, because I think you'll get a lot more benefit and use out of that, and it just means you can do things like customize. I don't know, well, I'm going to make a sticker to customize a water bottle for my friend's birthday present, but you can do all that sort of thing. So let's focus on images and text for now on this insert design menu on the left-hand side. If you're on a smartphone or a tablet, by the way, this menu will be along the bottom of your screen. You'll just see text and images along the bottom rather than down the left-hand side. Okay. I'm going to start with text. So you simply click on text, and then a text box will appear on your canvas. It doesn't matter where that text box is on your canvas. You can move it around. That bears no relation to where things sit finally when you've made them. We'll come on to that in a little bit. But what we want to do is change that text to something that we actually want it to say. Why is it not letting me select it? That's weird. Something strange is going on. You click on new project again. Something weird is happening. This does happen every now and then, but not there, never this. Hang on a moment. I might just quickly reboot my design space. Hang on a moment. That's annoying. Every now and then they do updates, because it's all in America, based in America, and they do updates which they're actually about this kind of time. So they might be annoyingly doing an update, which sometimes has very, very infrequent, but sometimes has an impact on what you're doing. Okay, I'm opening it back up again. Let's go back onto my canvas. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so where have you gone? I've lost you all. There you are. Right. Share my screen again. Okay, so this time, can you see? I literally just clicked text, and this time it's editable. So you can see that text is highlighted blue. I've got no idea why that didn't happen last time. I'm very sorry, but we're back in the room now, so that's good. So now, because I just literally clicked text and it came up immediately like that. So you can just type over it, and it will, whatever text you like will then appear in the text box. I'm making it's my friend's birthday tomorrow, so that's her name. I'm going to make that for her. So you can see I just literally typed that on my keyboard, and you can see there on the right hand side, this is what's called the layers menu. Anytime you add anything onto your canvas, it will appear on the layers menu over here. So just keep half an eye on that over there. Right, so you can select or deselect whatever it is on your canvas, literally just by clicking on it. So I'm just clicking on the name there and clicking off, and that will select it. And you can see, you can also select your item by clicking on it on the layers panel as well. If you want to make any changes at all, so say the first thing that's really screaming out at me is I'd like to change the font for that name, for her sticker that's going to go on her water bottle. I'd like just to make it a little bit more fancy. So I'm going to select her name. And then you can see when anything is selected on your canvas, this is the edit menu at the top here. And as soon as you've got something selected, the edit menu will become live. So if you keep your eye on the edit menu at the top, I'm going to deselect the name, and you can see it's not live, but when it's selected, that menu becomes live again. I'm not going to go through all of these edit commands up here because there's loads and loads of them, but I'll just focus on the main ones. So the first one is you obviously need to make sure that whatever you're cutting is the right size for whatever it is that you'd like to put it onto. So let me quickly measure the water bottle. So it'd be quite nice if the sticker was about, I think, maybe 8 centimeters in length for the water bottle. So there's 2 ways of me altering the size of this sticker that I'm going to make. Firstly, if you hover your cursor over in any of the 4 corners of the name until you see that straight double arrow ended line, and then you can click and drag to make the name larger or smaller that way. But you can also, with the name selected, go up to this size box up here. So let me just move this. Then you can be really, really precise, so that I know that I would like the width to be 8 centimeters. So I'm just going to type over that, hit return, and then I know that the name is 8 centimeters wide. The font, yes, that's what we're talking about. The font is another really, really important thing. And actually, I'll have to change the size again in a minute anyway, because the font, it will probably change when I've changed the font. But to change the font, it's really straightforward with your names, with whatever it is selected. You just click on font up here. And this is all in the edit. On the smartphone or a tablet, you'll see an edit menu along the bottom, and you just have to expand that edit menu, and all these options will come up. And then when you click on the font, you'll have this fonts menu appear. There are so many fonts in Design Space. It's really, really, sometimes you'll find one and you'll think, oh, that's perfect for my project. And then the next time you want to make something, you just can't for the life of you find it. So I would always recommend, if you see a font that you like, click that little bookmark icon there, and then if you ever want to find it again, you can just click on up here on bookmarked, and you will have in there any fonts that you've used before that you bookmarked. It will save you a lot of time. So sorry, I'm just moving other things on my screen, and also there are some different guides for you to choose different fonts. So say you want something contemporary, you can just click on contemporary and scroll down. There's all sorts of different ones. Let me see, what would Aliona like? I think she'd like something a bit swirly, actually. You see, this is where literally you can just go down forever. Oh, classic. Oh, golly. Hang on. I'm just going to have to choose one. There we go. Let's choose that. No. No. I mean, she would quite like that. I want one which is kind of joined up. Oh, let's see. Oh, I know there might be one. Is it called Sign? Yes, look, these ones. There we go. Oh, maybe that one. There we go. So you literally just click on your font and then it will change it for you over here. Okay, we're going to go with that. There is something I want to show you, which is you can change the how far apart the letters are, so the kerning. So in here that you've got a letter space option, you can literally press, you can increase or decrease that, and the letters will go closer or further together apart like that. That's sometimes quite nice. If you have a really lovely kind of joined up swirly font, you might want to make sure that the letters are all sort of touching each other. That's really nice. Okay, so we've changed the font, we've changed the size. Let's go back to 8 centimeters again. Perfect. And then let's talk about color. So obviously your machine doesn't dictate what color everything's going to be. It's you that chooses what color everything's going to be according to what color you feed into your machine. But it's a really good habit to get into, to make sure that what's on your canvas is the color that you would like it to be when you're cutting out the vinyl or whatever it is. And that's because if you've got multiple layers, for example, it just means you can see what those colors look like together. But also when you come to feed them through your machine, you don't have to think, oh, what color was it that I wanted that to be? It means that it will automatically, you can see it's yellow or whatever, and you just feed in your yellow vinyl. So to change the color, you have to have your item highlighted. And then on this operation box here, there's this little box with a color in it, and you just simply choose the color that you're going to make that item. I'm going to make it a bit of a kind of aqua color, so I'll choose that one. Okay, so that is all of the edit tools I'm going to show you with text. The next, and that's kind of all I'm going to show you right now for adding text as well. I'm going to show you images next. So say you'd like to add an image onto your canvas as well. Let's click on images, and I'm going to do a heart because she's lovely and she'll like that. So I literally just, I didn't explain that properly. Let me go back. So I just clicked on images on the left-hand side. That's along the bottom if you're in a smartphone or tablet. And then in this universal image search bar here, I'm just going to type heart. You can literally type in, I mean, it's very rare that I've typed anything into that box and not had something come up, because the library is so vast of images on Design Space. It's growing. It says 300. It's said 300,000 plus for ages. I'm sure it must be coming on to 400,000 now. So yeah, it's really brilliant. There's usually something in there. I'm going to click on that magnifying glass, and you'll see just for heart, it's over 16,500 images. When they decide to appear, it's being a bit sluggish today. Maybe it's my computer, because I did have that absolute freak out with it, just literally 2 minutes before 7 o'clock, and I lost you all. Oh, come on. What's going on? Let's go back onto the canvas again. It's a bit weird. Something's not quite right. So I'm going to click images. Here we go. There they are. There's all the heart images. Okay, I'm going to draw your attention to 2 things here before we go into the images. And that is, first of all, you will notice this little green A. You may have noticed it against some of the projects, most of the projects, and also most of the fonts as well. So that little green A means that this item belongs to something called Cricut Access. So Cricut Access is a subscription service that you don't have to, but you can subscribe to, where you get access to pretty much everything within Design Space. It's £7.49 a month. And so you pay that, and then you get access to absolutely everything. If you decide not to pay Cricut Access, that's absolutely fine. You still get access to a lot of content. You just don't get everything. It's just reduced. I mean, it's reduced quite dramatically, but there is still a reasonable amount of content that you can access if you don't pay. If you decide not to pay, then there is kind of a pay-as-you-go version. So you'll pay, you can see there's little crossed out prices next to these items. So that's what you would do. You do like a pay-as-you-go if you decide not to subscribe. And if you do that pay-as-you-go, actually, then you have access to that item forevermore. Whereas if you subscribe to Cricut Access and then one day you decide you don't want to anymore, you don't have access to anything that you have used in the past. That said, so for me, it's indispensable. I use it all the time, and it's brilliant. But it's up to you, and it depends what kind of maker you are and what kind of things you're going to be making and how regularly. So my best advice would be to kind of get your head around the machine a little bit, have a bit of a practice making some bits and bobs with the free content, and then everybody gets a 30 days free of the subscription. So then I'd sign up for that, max out the 30 days free, use as much as you can, and then make a call as to whether you think it's right for you. But yeah, so that's what that little green A means. You'll also see underneath quite a lot of the designs there is like people's profiles. So let's find a cute one. See if there's somebody that I know. Oh, that's quite a sweet one. So here we go. So if I was to click on this profile under here, you will see there are lots of they're called, she's in South Korea. There's lots of they're called CAP artists, Cricut contributing artist. So they are people that do amazing designs, and then they upload them to Cricut Design Space, and then they get a little part of that money every single time anybody downloads any of their images. So it's brilliant. It's a brilliant way for artists to, get their work out there and to get some revenue from them. But the great thing about it is you might find an artist that you love the designs of, and they just, they really kind of suit your style of making. So it's always kind of worth, if you find an image that you really like, just click on the artist and then you can follow them. And then that means that any time that artist makes a new design, you will be notified of it, and you can, keep on track with what they're doing. So let's go back into images again. We were in hearts. So at the moment, we've got over 16,500 heart images, which is way too many for me to just scroll down and have a look at. So I want to try and whistle these down a bit. So there are lots of different filters down here on the left. If you're on a smartphone or a tablet, you'll see a little filters icon. Just click on that and these filters will come up for you. So let me just take you through 3 of the filter types so that we can narrow them down. So first of all, let's click on operation type. So operation means what you're asking your Cricut machine to do. So generally speaking, we'll be asking it to cut, probably most of the time. So I don't want it to be doing a drawing of, I'm going to be cutting out a piece of vinyl to stick onto the water bottle. I don't want to faff around with putting the pen in and doing drawing. That's not what I want this project to be about. So cut only is a really good one to choose if you know that you just want to do a vinyl or iron on vinyl project with cutting. Another really useful one is this layers filter. So you can have a multiple layer or a single layer project. So if it's multiple layer, it will be lots of different colors of vinyl. And if it's a single layer, it will just be one color of vinyl. So it's much easier, great place to start. So let's just choose single layer, and that should reduce it quite dramatically. I mean, we've still got over 7,000, but you can see now these, you can imagine these being just cut out of a piece of vinyl quite easily and then put onto, that's so cute, isn't it? Might save that one, bookmark that for a later date. I'm always doing that, and it's really great. You can just go into your bookmarks and see all the things that you have liked at a certain time. It's really good. So we've still got quite a lot in here, but you can imagine all these ones being cut out of vinyl. That would be quite nice as well, wouldn't it? There's one other filter that I'm going to show you, because if you're new to Cricut and you've not got access to the subscription and you're not sure whether you'd like it, then this free filter will be really useful to you. So I'm going to click on that one there, and that means that all of these ones in here, some of them might still also be part of subscription service, but actually you can see when it's got the bit where the price would be, all of these ones say free next to them. And there's still 75. So as you can see, there's still, like I said, it's fine not to get Cricut access, certainly at the beginning, just have a bit of a play around. This one's nice. So now I need to decide which heart I'm going to put Oh, I might choose that one, actually. I think she'd like that. Yeah, I'm going to choose that one here. So choose whatever you'd like. As you choose things, you might want to scroll down and think, oh, I don't want to necessarily go with that one. Let's keep scrolling down. Maybe I'd like that one. Or maybe I would like this balloon one. You'll see as I choose more options, they appear down here along the bottom of my screen for me to choose from. So you can just keep kind of gathering them as you're scrolling through, and they will all be down here. If you then decide you don't want to have one of those, just click on that red cross. If you want to see what these ones look like on your canvas, you can keep them both there, and then click the green button in the bottom right that says add to canvas. And then you should see, there we go, both of those two hearts have been added onto the canvas. They're both selected at the moment. I'm just going to click off of the hearts so that they're deselected. And then that means I can move them individually. And now I can kind of start to manipulate them. So if we look now over here on the layers panel, you'll see we've got 3 different things that have appeared. Just going to move this one there so you can see the latest things to be added onto the canvas are always going to be in the front, but a really quick and easy way to change the order is just by dragging and dropping. So I just dragged Aliona's name there from the bottom up to the top to make her name in front of everything else. I've decided I don't want this black geometric heart here. So there are 2 ways to remove something from your canvas. You can either select it and then hit delete on your keyboard, or you will see at the top of the, there's also a delete icon as well. That will be along the bottom of your screen on a smartphone or tablet. So with that selected, I can just hit delete and then away it goes. There are 2 other commands up here, kind of quick commands, these ones are called. So the first one is duplicate. So that's really obvious. You just have something highlighted and you can click duplicate and then it will appear again on your screen. I'm going to delete that one because I only want one of them, to click delete. And then the other one up here is called group. Now, as you can see at the moment, it's not highlighted. It's not enabled. And actually, even when I click the heart, it's also not enabled, but you need to have 2 items highlighted in order to group them together. So first of all, let me change this heart to make it a little bit smaller, maybe like that, and pop it, I don't know, down here. That will look quite sweet. There we go. Now, I'd like those 2 things to be grouped together. So what I'm going to do, you can either click on select all up here, that we see now that they're both grouped, or you can drag your cursor over both of those items, and now they're both grouped, or you can select them both and hold the shift button on your keyboard and select them both in the layers panel. And now that I've got 2 items selected, I can click that group command, which means that now anything that I do will affect both of those items. Okay, so I still want them to be 8 centimeters wide, but that was just to show you that kind of group command. Okay, now say I'm happy. I want to make them out of 2. Actually, no, I'm going to make them out of the same color because that makes things easier. No, yes. So at the moment, because they're 2 different colors, that would mean that I would have to feed 2 different colors of vinyl through my machine and then kind of position them together on my finished water bottle. But actually, I'd quite like them to be all one color. So I'm going to click on the heart over here in the layers panel, and I'm going to click on that color box again, and then click on the same green. Any colors that you're utilizing on the canvas are at the top here. So I know that that's the same green. So I'll click on that, and then I've got both things exactly the same color. Something else I'm going to do actually quickly is I'm just going to move, I've ungrouped quickly. I'm just going to move this heart so that it is touching the bottom of the Y, and you'll see why in a little bit, but Anyway, otherwise we're doing the same thing. Right, okay, I've got Aliona and the heart exactly the same colour. Now say that's great, I'm happy with that, and I'd like to cut it out of the vinyl. What we do next is we click on Make It. Ignore this bit for now, I'll show you this in a mo. Now you can see it's moved those things around. They're not in the places that I put them and grouped them together on my canvas. So the heart has been moved to the side. And that is because Design Space will always try and make best use of your vinyl, and it will move things. So that group command, I'm going to click cancel and go back here. That group command is only applicable, it's a design tool, so it's only applicable to things on your canvas. It will mean that if you go then to actually make it, things won't stay in the same place as each other. If I have decided that I want that heart and that name to be in exactly the same place on my final sticker, what I need to do is choose another command, which is not group, it is attach down here. So now with both of those highlighted and selected, I can click on attach, and you can see now there's another layer come up in here. So that's telling us that these items here are attached. If I was to now click on make it, ignore this bit, I'll tell you about that in a minute. And now you can see, oh, perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Everything's in the right place. That's where I wanted it all to be. It's all the right size and everything. So we're good to go. Well, you might think we're good to go. There's actually one other thing that we need to do, but that's what you need to do. If you've got items that you want to remain in the same place as each other, you need to click on attach. And then it means when you come to make them, they will stay in those places in relation to each other. Okay, back onto the canvas again, because actually, can you see if I zoom in, the outline of the letters and the outline of the hearts are the cut lines. And at the moment, there's a cut line still in between that Y and the heart. There we go, I'll zoom in loads so you can see. And what I'd like to happen is for there not to be a cut line in between that Y and that heart, but for them actually to just be one piece of vinyl, that Y and the heart to be joined together so that I don't have to then, you know, they might sort of slip a bit when I'm putting them on or something. So there's another command that you need to use. So the attach, think of attach as a bit like a paper clip. It will just hold them together in place. But there's another command that you need to do if you've got items that are touching each other and you'd like them to blend and merge or weld and become one item. And that command is weld. So I'm going to select these two items again. We're all together, we're all grouped or attached or whatever. I can detach actually, because there we go, that doesn't matter. We know that that's not the one that we want for this purpose. And instead, if you click on this little drop down next to combine, and you'll see the top one says weld. And if you keep your eye on this line between the Y and the heart as I'm welding, you'll see it disappear. There we go. So now that's just one piece of vinyl, and it's just going to be much neater when you cut it out. It's all going to be nice and together. So quite often you will have, say, I don't know, words that you might have the letters touching each other, and you'll want it all to be kind of nice and joined up and one piece of writing and one piece of vinyl. It'd be much nicer if you welded those letters together so that they're all one piece of vinyl rather than having cut lines in between. Okay, they are the commands that I'm going to leave it at for today, because that's quite a lot to go through. And now we're going to make this project. I did notice something when I went to make it. That's because I've got funny entitlement with my Cricut Design Space account, which means that I do have to pay for some items, and I think that heart was one of those items. So I'm going to quickly redo the name. Oops. Leona, and I'm going to choose a different heart. Do you know what? I might also try to find a different font, because it's not my favorite one ever. I want a really nice joined up one. Right, there we go. She'd prefer that one, I think. Yes, that's the one I'm going to choose. Oh, much better. And actually, you can see now, I'm going to make that the right colour if I make it bigger. So can you see that these letters are all joined up, but there are still cut lines in between them? So all I need to do is highlight that word. They're all, because they were written together as one piece of writing, they're all kind of, that's all one thing at the moment. It's one layer, so I don't need to group them. But with that word highlighted, I'm going to click on that weld again. I just need to move all of your faces. Click on weld. Ah, there we go. Lovely. All of those cut lines have disappeared. So that's now just going to cut out as one lovely piece of vinyl. Right, with that selected, I'm going to go back down to 8 centimeters wide again. And let's go back on images and heart. I need to try and find one. Let's try that one here. Add to canvas. There we are. That's cute. And I'm going to weld those actually as well. So if I highlight everything and again, click on weld. And obviously when you weld something with something else, it's automatically going to change to the same color anyway, because it's becoming one piece of vinyl. So you'll notice I didn't need to change the color of the hearts that time because I knew I was going to weld them. So they would automatically change to the same vinyl anyway. Okay, let's make that 8 again because it's got a bit wider. Okay, we're good to make it. So now I'm going to click on make it. And I'm going to talk you through this screen now because I saw that some of you had an Explorer 2 or a Maker, which means that you are not going to be using smart materials. So it might be that this screen doesn't come up for you. I'm going to explain it anyway, just so that everybody knows. Okay, so it's asking you how you're going to load your materials into this for this project. So do you remember at the beginning I showed you smart vinyl that you load straight into the machine and regular vinyl that you need to put onto that sticky mat? That is what this is referring to. So I'm going to cut this project on a mat actually. So I'm going to click on mat. But if you are loading smart vinyl directly into your machine with no mat, on the Explore 3, Maker 3 or Joy, you would click without mat. And it says there very clearly for smart materials only. But I'm doing on mat. I'm going to click on confirm. And then there you can see that this is a really clear representation of what that mat actually looks like. It just happens to be green because I selected the green color for my vinyl. But the color of the mat on your screen will be representative of the color that you've chosen for that item that you'd like to cut out. If I just show you, if you were not putting it on a mat, if you were choosing smart material, that is what that looks like. So that's just kind of representative of the piece of vinyl that you're putting through. A few things worth saying. So when you are feeding whatever it is, your smart vinyl, sorry, actually, through the machine, you always need to make sure that you're feeding the full width. You can't, so you see this piece of smart vinyl here has got a chunk cut out of it. I couldn't feed that end through my Cricut machine. It always needs to be a straight line through your machine. Otherwise, it just won't take it through properly. So rather than doing things like this and cutting off the chunk, you always need to cut a nice straight line all the way across. And then you might have little offcuts and things that you can put in a little bag to use as offcuts. And with those offcuts, you can still use them in your machine, but you'll just need to stick them onto one of these mats to feed them through. If you are using regular vinyl, like I am doing now, I'm going to take my vinyl out of the wrapper. I'm going to cut a piece of this vinyl off that I know is more or less the right size for my project. There we go, rather than feed it all through, because I'm going to stick this onto the mat. So you peel the sticky protective sheet off your mat. Make sure you keep it somewhere safe. Don't just pop it on the floor because you don't want to get yes, Sarah, right, I'm going to try and keep my eyes on the comments a bit more. You can use smart vinyl on the mat. So if you've got offcuts, just bung them on the mats. You can put them straight through, that's fine. So you can actually use Smart Vinyl on the Maker 3 and the Explorer 2. You just need to make sure you put it on a mat for those machines. And then in the Maker 3, Joy and Explore 3, you can use your offcuts of vinyl on the mats. Okay. Your Cricut machine will always put your design in the top left-hand corner of the mat or of your piece of vinyl. So that's where I'm going to put my vinyl now. This machine, if ever you're looking for a lovely, don't worry, Mark, I'll send you the recording. Thank you for coming. This little machine here is brilliant. It's a little tool. It's called an applicator. I quite often use that just to make sure that things are well stuck down. So that's good to go. And now, if I go back to my screen share again, here we go. You can see that that's kind of where I've put my vinyl, and we're ready to go into the. You can see that, yeah, we're ready to go into the machine. One thing worth noting is you can move things around on here. So say you have a really awkwardly shaped piece of vinyl. I don't know, maybe it's like an L shape and it goes along like that. You can move this around so that it fits onto that piece of vinyl that's on your mat and feed it through your machine. These measurements here refer exactly to the measurements on the mat, so you can use those as a guide when you're moving things around. Another thing worth mentioning at this point, actually two things, is this project copies box up here. So say you'd like to make 10 of something, it's always better to do it in this project copies. Click apply, and then they'll all appear for you like that. I only want to do one, so I'll go back to one. And then this mirror button here as well is really useful if you're making an iron-on vinyl project that's going onto clothes or something. You'll want to mirror your design because you cut through the back of iron-on vinyl. It will tell you that, it will prompt you to do that, but we're not doing that today. We're cutting regular vinyl, so we don't need to mirror it. Okay, we're good to go. So I'm going to click on continue. All of the machines will be connected via Bluetooth. You can hardwire, if you're using a computer, an Explorer or a Maker. I pretty much always use Bluetooth. If I'm in a slightly dodgy connection area, I might hardwire it, but generally speaking, actually the only time you do definitely need to is if you're cutting like wood or something. If you're cutting a wood project, it does sort of, I don't know, 20 passes of the same cut to make sure it cuts through all the wood. And then you need to hardwire it so that it doesn't lose the connection. But otherwise, Bluetooth should be fine. You might need to pop up to your Bluetooth menu on your device just to find your Cricut machine. But once you've done it once, it should be okay. So click on the drop down, find your Cricut machine, and then it should connect automatically. Oops. And then, oh, it's just finding it now. There we go. The next thing you need to do is tell it which material you're using. So you can click on Browse All Materials, and then all of the materials will come up here. It's very, very important that you select exactly the right materials. So there are loads and loads. If I click on vinyl here, you'll see there are so many different types of vinyl. It's quite crazy. We need to make sure that we're telling it exactly the type of vinyl that you use, because the machine's calibrated so precisely that it will cut exactly the right amount of pressure for that exact material. So if you're in doubt, you can look on the packaging of your vinyl, or you can look on the back of your vinyl, and it will say very clearly what type of vinyl it is you're using. Now, which one am I using today? Oh, I'm using premium vinyl glossy permanent. Oh, here we go. That's up here. Premium vinyl permanent glossy. That's the one I'm using. So I'm just going to click on that. If it's one that you use really regularly, you can just click on the favorite button, and that will come up in your favorites. But I'm just going to click on that today. Then you click on done. And then there we go. It tells you which tools you need. So nothing in clamp A, fine point blade in clamp B, which is the regular blade that it comes with. And then it says you can load your mat. It's slightly different, obviously, for the Joy, because you don't have any buttons on the Joy, but I'll tell you that when we go. Okay, so now if I open up my machine, make a little bit of space and show you. Okay, the button on that load and unload button on my machine is now flashing. And so what we can do is feed either the vinyl on your mat or the smart vinyl straight in, if you're using that, into the machine ready to cut it. You need to be really careful that you put your mat or your smart vinyl underneath these two white hooks under here. They're just in front of that metal bar, and then you you need to really make sure that you are loading your smart vinyl or your mat very squarely into your machine. If there's any kind of slant at all, it really won't like it and it will chew it up a bit. So you need to make sure that you're doing it nice and squarely on, and then you can press that load button here. Make sure there's nothing behind the machine. There we go. Okay, so first of all, it's just checking that I've got enough material, which I do have, getting into position. And then once it's happy, this go button is going to flash. I'm going to press that. If you're on the Joy, you can just press go on your computer or your phone or your tablet. And then it's going to cut out my design. Okay, whilst that's happening, I'm going to check some questions. I can't remember if I set this for an hour or an hour and a half. Does anyone remember? I'm going to just keep going anyway. If anybody needs to leave, oh, great, thank you. Thanks, everybody. I was having a panic that I was to really speed up. That's brilliant. Oh, we're going to have plenty of time for Q&A. That's great. Okay, let me look at the chat whilst that's happening. I'm going to try and get to as many as possible. Oh, there's quite a few. Okay, so I'll start. I'm going to start at the bottom. Sorry, the people at the top. Do you have to be specific about where you put it in the machine? I don't know what you mean. Trish, do you mean where you put the material? Please elaborate.
It follows on from the question I put just above it, but you got times in between it, so it got broken up a bit. So it's where does it get put when you put your vinyl into the machine? Does it know exactly where you've put it? Because you've only put a little square on it. You've not filled the whole mat. You've put a whole square. Does the maker understand where you've put the vinyl, or do you have to put it in a specific spot?
So no, so it will always go top left. Do you remember that? I'll show you in a minute the screen again.
Yeah, but top left, you missed the first centimetre or so at either end of it. How precisely does that have to be?
It's pretty precise, actually. So I'm right in the corner of the grid. It will never cut right to the very, very edge. It will always cut slightly in. But I will always put, I'm only losing there millimeters of my vinyl, and I'd rather that to make sure that it's all on my piece of vinyl. So as long as you can see on that matte preparation screen that was on my design space just before we cut it, that kind of like visualization of the mat or whatever, as long as you can see on there exactly where your design is coming up to. So it might be exactly up to the 8 centimeter line and exactly down to the 2.5 centimeter line. So I would then cut a piece of vinyl that goes up, say, to the 9.5 centimeter line and down maybe to the 3.5 centimeter line, just to make sure that it's within that box.
But you've got to be precise. It's not the machine can't work it out.
You have to be precise. Exactly right. Yeah, there is another technique. I'm definitely not going to go into that today because it's much more complicated. But yeah, the way that we've done it, which is the way that the vast majority of people would do it for any project, you have to be precise. Exactly. Right, I'm going to crack on with this, and then there's going to be loads of time for Q&A at the end, which is brilliant. So I can tell you that at the end. Right, the unload button is flashing. I'm going to press that, and it unloads my vinyl. Move my machine to one side turn it off actually for now, I think. And then you can peel your vinyl off the mat. You might be tempted just to peel the vinyl off this way, but actually what you want to try and do is keep the vinyl nice and flat, but you can bend these mats a lot more than you might think. So I'll turn it over, peel the mat back and keep my vinyl nice and flat. This is particularly with vinyl is actually a fairly robust material, but you might be using something that's a bit less robust, like, and for paper and card and things, the last thing you want to do is bend those. So you might want to be careful doing those. There's also a little spatula tool that you can use to carefully prise those off as well. Okay, so you won't be able to see the cut lines on here, but they are on there. So what I'm going to do is, actually I've got a bit extra. I'm going to weed off bits that I don't need. So this is the weeding tool. It's really, really helpful to use the weeding tool. It just makes life a bit easier. I'm going to pop the weeding tool underneath the top layer of vinyl on an area of the sticker that I don't want. So I am now off the piece of sticker that I want. I'm going to start peeling it back, and you should be able to see quite quickly that my lovely design is left on the carrier sheet. It's very hard to do these things on. There we go. There we are. And yeah, and then this bit is all the bit that you don't need. So there we go. That's ready to go onto the bottle. But you need another material, which is transfer tape, in order to transfer the vinyl from the carrier sheet onto the bottle. So transfer tape comes in big rolls like this, or we can get smaller ones for the joy. You can reuse transfer tape lots of times. It's great. So whenever you've got pieces of transfer tape, different sizes, just cut off, you can just keep those safe. I've got like a little caddy here that I keep them safe in, and then I reuse them, 10, 12 times even sometimes. It depends what material you're using. So you want to take your piece of transfer tape. There's two different types of transfer tape. Generally speaking, you'll need the standard grip transfer tape, but if ever you're using a vinyl which has got a textured surface, so like a glitter vinyl, for example, then because the surface area is much less, because it's all textured, you'll need strong grip transfer tape for that type of vinyl. Unfortunately, they're not interchangeable, so you can't use strong grip transfer tape with regular vinyl, neither can you use regular vinyl with textured vinyl. You know what I'm saying. Standard grip transfer tape with regular vinyl. Oh God, I think you understood. Right, I'm going to peel my transfer tape off the backing and pop it down onto my sticker like this. And then I'm going to use a tool which is called the scraper, which is another really, really handy tool. There's a brilliant, if you don't have any tools, the Joy toolkit, or the beginner toolkit, includes the spatula, the scraper, and the weeding tool. And it's brilliant. They're the tools that you just need kind of all the time. So if you wanted to invest in any of the toolkits, that would be the one to include. On the follow-up email, I'll include a link to that on the Crafting Outlet in case you're interested. Right, I'm going to take my scraper tool and I'm going to do a couple of scrapes on the top. But actually, you really want to focus scraping on the back, on the reverse of your sticker, because we want to transfer our vinyl sticker onto that transfer tape rather than onto this carrier sheet. So you can be quite strong, quite brutal, apply quite a lot of pressure and pay particular attention to the edges. And then once you've done that, you should be able to peel back your carrier sheet and have your stickers left on the transfer tape like this. It's working beautifully today, which is lovely. If ever you find that some of the bits are sticking still to the carrier sheet, just push them back, do a little bit more scraping and then pull them back again. Or sometimes if they're being really naughty, I like to kind of push down with my right hand with that scraper tool and then pull back like this. And by doing it that way, it always works. Okay, so now we've got the vinyl, all cut out beautifully and stuck to the transfer tape. There are grids on the transfer tape as well, which are sometimes quite handy to line your designs up with for when you're applying them onto your blanks. I've not done that today, but you know, hey ho. Right, so now just need to pop it on here. This is nice and clean straight out of the packet. Just make sure there's no dust or dirt or anything on here. You might want to use a lint roller or a cloth or something to wash it first of all. And then I'm going to place a couple of things down on my desk to make sure that my bottle isn't rolling around, and then just place my sticker on. And then again, you can use your scraper tool, just rub it all over the top. And then carefully peel the transfer tape back. And then this time, when you peel the transfer tape back, really kind of fold it back on itself and peel it back like this. And then that means it won't peel your design back up off the blank. There we go. And now you can pop this transfer tape back onto the carrier sheet. And I'll use this piece like literally 10 more times. It's great. And there we go. I think she's going to love it. So that is how to make a vinyl sticker to customize or personalize anything, or you know, I've even done it on the bedroom walls for the girls instead of wallpaper. So I've done things. Let me show you some other examples of things that I've done using exactly the same techniques, but maybe multiple layers. I've got a little lunchbox here. I think at the very beginning, somebody said about cutting out really fine detail. You can cut really, so this is a glass that says Happy Mother's Day, I think, on it. Super, super fine. You can see how fine next to my fingers. And that's using glitter vinyl. So you can cut really, really fine designs. You just need to make sure that you're there's a few things. If you're finding it's not cutting through fine things like that really cleanly, the first thing I do is make sure that your blade is nice and clean and fresh. Secondly, always make sure that your vinyl is really clean, like solidly adhered to the mat. So that's when something like this applicator really comes into its own. If there's the odd sort of bubble, or if it's not pressed down properly and it kind of can move slightly, that can really, really mean that it won't cut cleanly. And also if the mat isn't very sticky anymore, obviously these two things don't apply if it's smart vinyl, but if the mat isn't very sticky anymore, you might need to refresh the mat or get a new mat to make sure that the vinyl is stuck down properly. Yes. What else have I made out of vinyl? It's really amazing for
Kate, can we butt in a minute? Well, the screen has become really blurry. We can't really see you properly. I think it's everybody's having the same problem.
Oh, is it just suddenly gone blurry?
No, it's been blurry for a little while, actually.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's not a smooth video, Kate. It's very, yeah, blurry.
Yes, if your
When you
internet
come off the
connection
split
drops,
screen, which start to go blurry.
When it was what, sorry?
When
It's
you come
usually
off the
if your
split
internet-
screen, after you come off that.
Oh, that's when it happened, was it?
Yeah, that's when it happened. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I could log out and log back in again. I'm worried I'm going to lose the chat in that case, but I can download the chat quickly.
I think it's okay to carry on as you are. It's just that we can't see the things really clearly that you're showing, but we can see generally. So I think just carry on.
No, it's just not ideal for you, is it? Oh.
It's usually
Well,
if your
okay.
internet connection drops a little bit. So I don't know if you just have a different option of connecting.
No, I don't. It
It's
says it's on full what's it? But there must be something weird because it dropped out. It says it's on because I've got a specific one just for this room. But okay, I'm just going to carry on. I'm going to hope for the best. I'm going to hope it comes right.
You'll see it on the video when you watch it after.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I could me check my video settings. Maybe I'll turn my video off and on again. Any better? No. Okay, I'm going to just keep showing you some options. So this is really good for like making labels for your home. Hopefully you can see that. I've put like typed sugar, cut sugar out of some vinyl and stuck it onto the side of a jar. So that's really brilliant as well. I'm going to now just go through the Q&A, because that hopefully you won't need to see absolutely everything, and I can just chat through it all. Okay, so make cake toppers, but you're not sure where to buy the acrylic from, and if so, do I place it on the mat? If so, what mat? Yes, so if you're putting any material which is kind of quite a thick material onto a mat, ideally you want to use the purple mat, so something like acrylic or wood, you put those onto the purple mat. And I would always masking tape around the outside as well onto the mat, just to make sure that you don't get any slippage or anything. Because if you think that you just don't want anything to move, and because it needs to go through the wood or whatever, you know, sometimes I think it's sort of 20 or even 30 passes and it might slip, and you just don't want it to slip. So I would always masking tape it as well. If the vinyl doesn't cut properly and I'm trying to weed, it brings the letters up with it. Where does that mean I'm going wrong? That does occasionally happen, Sarah. So it could be a number of different factors. So firstly, if you're using Cricut vinyl, it shouldn't happen, because all of the Cricut materials are calibrated specifically to those actual material settings on Design Space. That's not saying it never happens, but it shouldn't ever happen in that case. What you can do is, if you're not using a Cricut vinyl, or if that is happening, you can have a little play around. So you might remember that, let me see, let me share my screen again. Hopefully the screen share is okay. So let's pretend we're going to make it again. I'm going to go click on make it. And on this screen here, there's a little option which will appear in a moment. Oh no, I've turned my maker off, didn't I? Turn it back on again. There's a little option here that gives you the opportunity to choose a different pressure setting. So it says more or less pressure. We'll see it come up in a moment. So what you can do is you can just, rather than having the default pressure at this point, you can click on more pressure and it will apply slightly more pressure. It might also start to happen if your blade has been well used. There we go. If your blade has been well used and it's not quite as sharp anymore, you might need to apply a little bit more pressure. You can get a little bit more life out of your blade. Oops, don't want leather on vinyl. There we go, let's choose that one. So now if you have a little look here, there's this pressure option. If I click on that, it's got more or less. So you can just click on more and then it'll apply a little bit more pressure, and then that should be okay. Yes, hopefully that answers your question. I'm going to go back to the chat and just see, because I'll keep you on that screen. I've used the smart vinyl. So Heather, I've used the smart vinyl that came with my Maker 3 and the transfer tape that came with it. Transfer tape did not want to pick up the vinyl. Smart vinyl and the transfer. So the transfer tape did not want to pick up the vinyl. That is the, yeah, that shouldn't happen. I've had one faulty transfer tape batch out of the tens of maybe hundreds that I've used. So it shouldn't be that. Maybe apply more pressure onto the transfer tape to get it. So you know when I turned it upside down and I applied that pressure onto the back of my vinyl, maybe do that for a bit longer, a bit harder. You can press down quite hard and try it that way, and then you can use that tip that I showed you with pushing down with your right hand and then peeling back whilst you're pushing down to make sure that it really sticks to the transfer tape. It is trickier to apply smart vinyl to transfer tape than it is to apply regular vinyl. I will say that. And that is because smart vinyl and the smart vinyl backer is much thicker. So it's harder to kind of peel it back. So maybe have a little go, maybe get some regular vinyl and just see if you can kind of have a go with it with that, because it should be fine. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful, Heather. Okay, I'm going to keep going back through the questions. Oh, lots of people are saying it's frozen. I'm really sorry. I hope everything's come through okay. If there's anything else that anybody needs after the session, you can always email me and I'll always get back to you. Yeah, I'm really sorry it froze. That's really annoying. Usually it's fine. I'm so sorry it's happened on this one. Oh, I'm not going to go into print then cut, Callum. Oh no, Callum is, sorry, so it's Sarah. Sarah, I'm not going to go into print then cut today. That's a whole other ball game. I will on the email maybe link to some other resources to tell you about print and cut, or you can direct message me, but I think it'll bamboozle everybody a little bit today. Cake toppers, acrylic, I'd just probably look on Amazon. I don't know. I'm not sure if they sell it at the crafting outlet. If they do, maybe they would like to. There we go. I forget to make person. So Sarah, oh no, that's the print and cut question, so I'm not going to do that. Where do I find the blade in clamp B? So clamp B is, so there's two clamps on your Explore and Maker machines. Clamp A is for accessories and clamp B is for blades. So you just literally open up that clamp. Oh, it's a bit hard to do back to front, so I just opened that up, and then you can take out that is your fine point blade. If I push it down, you'll see the actual blade in the bottom. Well, you might not be able to if it's a bit blurry, but it is there. So that's your blade. So if you wanted to replace that with a different type of blade, like say, for example, you wanted to put the rotary blade in to cut some fabric, you just take this one out, you can pop it in this storage drawer down here, and then you drop in your rotary blade and shut the clamp again. I mustn't forget to put that one back in, because I'll, knowing me, make a project next time and it won't be in there and I won't cut. There we go. And then clamp A is for things like pens and scoring styluses. So if I open up clamp A, and look, here's a pen here. So it's a Cricut washable fabric pen. You literally just take that out, drop it, push it down until it clicks, and that's how you put a pen or whatever else it is into clamp A. Hell's Nodes. Hello. How are you? You find cardstock sticks to mats, so haven't got anywhere with card projects, but have done loads of vinyl and heat vinyl with great success. Well done. Okay, so yes, that's it. That is certainly an issue. You need to use the light blue mat for card projects. Here is one here. It's less sticky. It's a light grip mat, but even with a light grip mat and card, I think at the very beginning, when you first get them, they're still a bit too sticky, because then when you try and peel your card off, you'll still have either some fibers of the card or whole bits of the card sticking to the blue mat. So it feels a bit counterintuitive, but what I would do is get your light blue mat and then get some fabric and just kind of pat it all over the mat to make it slightly less sticky, and then put your card down onto the mat and use this applicator just to make sure that it doesn't move anywhere. That is what you need to do. The only other thing, I don't know which machine you've got, Kels, but if it's a Maker 3 or an Explore 3 or a Joy, you can use, they do smart sticker card stock, which is just a card that you put straight in, but it's adhesive on the back. So that might be useful as well. Okay. I'm still going through the questions. So did my test cut yesterday, Katrina, and it cut all the way through the Smart Sticker cardstock, and I did choose the exact material. Does that mean it's not calibrated properly? It does sound like it's not calibrated properly, because that should have worked fine. It shouldn't go all the way through. It should just go through the top layer and have the carrier sheet should be left clean so you can peel the top layer off. That doesn't sound right at all. You might want to recalibrate. That is in the hamburger menu on the top left of your homepage. If you click on calibrate your machine, it will walk you very, very nicely through the stages of calibrating a machine and setting it up for a new for the material. So I'd try and do that. But if that still doesn't work, I'd call member care, because they're brilliant and they should be able to walk you through that process if it's a problem with the machine, which it could be, but it shouldn't be. Let me think I've got some more messages at the bottom. Okay. The vinyl samples I got with the machine do not say what they are, so therefore I do not know what to use. They should, yes, they should. Amy, you're right. Should send back. It doesn't. That's weird. That, Suzanne, is weird. I'm not quite sure. Paper backing. Maybe check with the customer service reps, the lovely team at Crafting Outlet, if you got it from there, because they might be able to tell you maybe there was a different material put in. Maybe do that, because that shouldn't be the case. Okay, Sarah, what blade would you need to use to cut through the metal to make earrings? So you can't cut through metal, but you can engrave onto metal. You can cut through wood, you can cut through leather, you can cut through thin acrylic, but you can't cut through metal. So there is no blade that will do that. Oh, look, Jason's answered that. Oh, thank you, Jason. So it's permanent gloss vinyl. See how you get on. There we go. Lovely. SVG files. iPhone. I don't know what your name, but that again is another thing. I can message you. I tell you what, I know what I need to tell you about. I'll put this on the email. So on the 23rd of February, I've scheduled another quick well, an hour long, just Q&A, purely Q&A. So I'll put a link to that on my email that goes out afterwards with the recording and the handbook. And I can tell you that then, because I can go into a bit more detail, because you've all had a little bit of a play with your Cricut machines by then. So I'll do that, because I don't want to do that now. Okay. Can you join the capital letter A to make it one solid piece? Yes, you can. Shall I quickly show you that? I'm going to show you that. And also, how often should we change the knife? Namra, that entirely depends on how often you use your machine and what you're cutting. For example, if you are cutting a lot of chunky glitter iron-on vinyl, like this lovely stuff here, it's quite crunchy, and that will use your blade up. It will blunt your blade much more quickly than if you're cutting lovely, smooth, permanent, glossy vinyl. So it completely depends. That said, they do last quite a long time. So I've certainly had them last a year at least, and I use my machine quite regularly. Okay, last thing, I'm going to show you how you would have joined up the A, because that's a nice little thing to end on. I can show you. Oops, hopefully you can all see my screen again. I'm going to go back to Canvas. Okay, so I've welded this. This is bringing up another nice little point that I can tell you actually. So I've welded this image. You can't unweld anything. So I can't now unweld. I'll have to create it again, unless actually I can click undo, which I can. And the undo button goes back quite a long way. There we go. So you can always undo to unweld, but you would also obviously then lose the other steps that you've done. Okay, so we've got the name here. So say I wanted that A, which is still welded. There we go. It's now not welded. I can see that over here, so it doesn't say weld. If I click it forward again once, you'll see that says weld result, and back once it doesn't say weld. So that undo and redo button is on the top left on your desktop. If you're on a computer, it's down on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is, at the moment, these letters are all grouped together, and they're automatically grouped together when you type one word. So you can see that that group button is activated when this layer is highlighted. So I'm going to ungroup them. I'm just going to click ungroup. And now, rather than having all of that word as one layer, we've got each letter as an individual layer, which means that you can move them around freely however you like. So now I could, if I wanted to, make that A a bit bigger and then move it up so it's touching the L. And now I could highlight each of those layers again, each of the individual letter layers. And this time, when I press weld, the A is also touching everything else, and it's also part of the rest of the sticker. That was quick. Hopefully that made sense to you. Okay, I think that's enough for today. Are there any more final questions that anyone is desperate to ask? How often do I do Zooms? All the time. I love them. Not always on Cricut. I do lots of other crafty things, but I love doing Cricut ones. And like I say, I'm doing another Cricut one in, I think, 2 or 3 weeks time. I'll send you links to anything else on the email. And I'm so sorry. Yes, you do have to book a place each time, Kerry Marie, but it's quite easy. I'll just send you links to them. And I'll do those Q&As probably monthly. So if there's anything that you need to ask, you can always just send the question, and then I'll make sure that I answer it in the next Q&A. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm so sorry that the picture went all strange. It might still be blurry. I'm so sorry about that. I'll get my husband, IT support, to look into it for me. Hopefully you've still learned lots of new things. And like I say, you're going to get the handbook and the recording. So there'll be lots of information in there. And anything you need to ask, please always ask me. I'm also on Instagram. I think it's at Makery Kate, or the Makery Kate on Instagram, and it's the Makery on Facebook. So I put lots of things up on there as well. But thank you so much for joining me. I've loved it, so I really hope you have too. And I'll be in touch with how I can help you going forward with your Cricut adventures. But I hope you really enjoy using your machines, and catch up with you soon. Lots of love, everybody. Take care. Bye bye.